Hi there, it's Diane. Welcome to my basement. Today, we are going to be working on addition and subtraction of decimals. So we're on page 44 of your workbook. Now we need to remember a little bit about decimals. What is a decimal? Does anybody know what a decimal is? Well, we know about decimal points. And numbers can have decimal points. Well, a decimal is a number less than 1. So here we have the number 24 and 59 hundredths. We have our tens column, our ones column, our decimal point, our tenths column, and our hundredths column. So remember, if I have the number 1 and I divide it into 10 equal parts, then I can shade in 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9/10, and as soon as I color in 10/10, it becomes one whole. So here I have 59 hundredths. I've taken the number 1, I've divided it into 100 equal parts, and I've shaded in 59 of those 100 equal parts. So our number here is 24 and 59 hundredths. Decimals show us numbers less than 1. Okay, so addition and subtraction of decimals. Today we're going to be remembering how to add and subtract. Just this time we're going to throw in some decimals. To add and subtract decimals, we do it the same way that we add and subtract natural numbers, so numbers 1 and above. However, pay particular attention to the following points. So there's some things that we need to remember. When you're adding and subtracting decimals, you need to align the digits according to their place value. So here, if I was to ask you what 102 take away 91 was, you need to line up your ones column, your tens column, and your hundreds column. The same with decimal points. If I have 131 and I want to add 1 and 1/10, I need to line up my decimal points. That's very important. So, after you align the digits according to their place value, you align the decimal points. Then you need to be sure to include the decimal point in your result. I made them red here. You don't want to leave off your decimal point, so I do it right away so I don't forget. I think you can remember that. I know you can remember that. So here they show us addition. If you have 78 and 1/10 plus 1 and 5/10, then you would line up your decimal points, and you would line up your tenths column, your ones column, and your tens column. And then you would know that 1/10 plus 5/10 is 6/10. 8 plus 1 is 9. And 7 plus 0 is 7. So 78 and 1/10 plus 1 and 5/10 equals 79 and 6/10. Now, if you have a number and you need to regroup, it's the same as if you use natural numbers. So let's look here. 12 and 34 hundredths plus 56 and 48 hundredths. If I have 4 and I add 8, 4 plus 8 is 12. So you put the 2 and you carry the 1. 1 plus 3 plus 4 is 8. You bring down your decimal point. 2 plus 6 is 8. 1 plus 5 is 6. So 12 and 34 hundredths plus 56 and 48 hundredths equals 68 and 82 hundredths. Now here's where it gets a little tricky. The number 312 does not have a decimal point. 312 does not have a decimal point. So you need to remember that the decimal point goes after the 2. So it's 312 decimal point. And then they want to add 43 and 72 hundredths. So you line up your decimal point and you write 43 decimal point, 72 hundredths. Now, when you're adding decimal points, you can also add the zeros to help you, just to line up the numbers, to help you calculate. So 0 plus 2 is 2. 0 plus 7 is 7. You bring down your decimal point. 2 plus 3 is 5. 1 plus 4 is 5. And you can bring down your 3. You're just using the zeros here as like a spot saver. Now that's for addition. Let's move on to subtraction. When the number is less than 1, put a 0 before the decimal point. That's going to hold your spot. So 46 decimal point 8, or 8 tenths, take away 0.2. You line up your numbers, you line up your decimal point, and you have 8 take away 2 is 6. Bring down your decimal point. 6 take away 0 is 6. And 4 you can bring down. So 46 and 8 tenths take away 2 tenths is 46 and 6 tenths. Don't forget, when you have a number that is lower at the top, right? And you're taking away a higher number or a higher value at the bottom, you have to regroup. And the same is true when there's decimals. You still have to regroup. So let's check this out. 34 and 56 hundredths take away 12 and 71 hundredths. So if I have 6, can I take away 1? Yes. The answer is 5. If I have 5, can I take away 7? No, you need to regroup. So you go into your ones column, you make your 4 a 3, you move that over to your tenths column, and it becomes 15. 15 take away 7 is 8. Bring down your decimal point. 3 take away 2 is 1. 3 take away 1 is 2. So 34 and 56 hundredths take away 12 and 71 hundredths equals 21 and 85 hundredths. Now remember, just like addition, you can add a decimal point and the 0, it helps you line up your numbers. Well, you can also add the decimal point and a 0 to help you to borrow when you're subtracting. So if we have 46, you know that there's a decimal point after the 6, and you can put in your 0. So 46 take away 13 and 7 tenths. 0 take away 7 we can't do because I have 0. I can't take away 7 from it. So I need to borrow. I'm going to go into my ones column. I'm going to take 1 away. Becomes a 5. I'm going to move that over to my tenths column. So now I have 10 tenths because we know that 10 tenths is 1 whole. So I have 10 in my tenths column. 10 take away 7 is 3. Bring down my decimal point. 5 take away 3 is 2, and 4 take away 1 is 3. All right, just to recap very quickly, we have subtraction, addition. Now, remember that when we add or subtract numbers, we're going to start in the column with the least value. So here, I'm going to start with my ones column. It has my lowest value. So 2 take away 1 is 1. 0 take away 9, I cannot do, so I'm going to borrow my hundreds, make it a 0, move it over. 10 take away 9 is 1. So 102 take away 91 is 11. The same is true when you're adding. You're going to start with the column with the least value. So here it's our ones column. So 8 plus 1 is 9. 3 plus 2 is 5. 38 plus 21 is 59. This is where it gets a little tricky. So now we're using decimals. And I put the decimals in red here for you. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a 0 to hold my spot. I'm not starting in my ones column like we used to do. Now I'm starting in the column with the lowest value, the least value, which is here, my tenths column. So I have, now make sure you're looking at the symbol, it's a plus symbol. So I have 0 plus 1, or 0 tenths plus 1 tenth is 1 1/10. Bring down my decimal point. 1 plus 1 is 2. Bring down my 3, bring down my 1. 131 plus 1 and 1/10 is 132 and 1/10. All right, let's look at the next one. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the 0 to save my space, my little spot there. Do I have to put a 0 in the front? You can. Hold your spot. Let's check this out. 0, take away 5. If I have 0, can I take away 5? No. I'm going to go to my ones column. I'm going to borrow, make it a 7, make that a 10. 10 tenths. So 10 take away 5 is 5. 7 take away 0 is 7. Bring down my 9, bring down my 2. 298 take away 5 tenths is 297 and 5 tenths. Okay, I think you're ready to practice. Let's check it out. On page 45, they want us to find the result of these additions. So the first thing you need to do is you need to line up your numbers. Line up your numbers. So I'm going to use 72 decimal point 1. Then I like to put the decimal point. We have 5 and 8 tenths. So I'm going to put 5 and 8 tenths. I need to add, so I'm going to put my plus symbol, and I'm going to draw my line. Now remember, I like to just bring down my decimal point. It helps me to line everything up. What do I do now? Which column am I supposed to start in? My tenths column. 1 plus 8 is 9. 2 plus 5 is 7. And bring down my 7. 77 and 9 tenths is correct. 72 decimal point 1 plus 5 decimal point 8 is 77 and 9 tenths. Let's try the next one. Now what's tricky about the next one is that 10 and 12 hundredths, you're going to add 76 and 2 tenths. So you need to add a number that has a hundredths position to a number that only has a tenths position. So you have to really line up your decimal points and then put in the 0 where it needs to be. So let's check this out. My top number is going to be 10 decimal point 12. I'm going to put in my decimal point. Then I have 76 and 2 tenths. And I need to add. I'm going to put my addition symbol. Where do I put my 0? I'm going to put it here. Now, when I think about decimal points and when I try to explain it to my students, I always try to think about money. So, decimal point 2, if I was to say 2 tenths, I know that 2 tenths, if I think about a dollar, 2 tenths, 2 dimes, is worth 20 cents. So this would be 12 out of 100, it would be 12 cents. And this is 2 tenths, so 2 dimes would be 20 cents. Maybe that'll help you. I hope it doesn't confuse you. But something to think about. When we talk about money, it's in base 100 because a dollar is 100 pennies. So if I ask you what 2 tenths, 2 10 cents out of a dollar, you could tell me 20 cents. Okay, 2 plus 0 is, I'm going to bring down my decimal point. I just like doing that. Okay, 2 plus 0 is 2. 1 plus 2 is 3. 0 plus 6 is 6. And 1 plus 7 is 8. So I have 86 and 32 hundredths. Let's see what they have. 86 and 32 hundredths. Great. Let's try one more. One more addition, and then we'll move on to subtraction. So what's the first thing I'm going to write? 4 decimal point 2. Now, I'm going to line up my decimal point. And then, ooh, look at this number. 0 decimal point 9. We say 9 tenths. So, 0 decimal point 9. We're going to look at the symbol. It says add. We're going to bring down that decimal point so we don't forget it. 2 plus 9. When I have to add, I hold on to the bigger number. So I'm going to hold on to my 9. I'm going to add 2. 9, 10, 11. Ooh, 11. The number 11 has a 1. And I need to bring up the 1. So I'm going to add 1 to this top. So here we have to regroup. 9, 10, 11. 1, carry your 1. 4 plus 1 plus 0, 5. You knew that. So I have 4 and 2 tenths plus 9 tenths is 5 and 1 tenth. 4 and 2 tenths plus 9 tenths is 5 and 1 tenth. Great job. I hope I'm not going too fast. If I am, please pause the video at any time so you can work it out yourself. And then unpause it to see what the answer is. You're in control! Alright, let's try subtraction. So we have 42 475 hundredths. And we need to take away 1 and 61 hundredths. So remember to put your decimal point, 1 in your ones column, 61 hundredths, and we're subtracting. So I've lined up my numbers. 5 take away 1 is 4. 7 take away 6 is 1. Bring down my decimal point. 2 take away 1 is 1. Bring down my 4 because there's like a 0 there, right? So 4 take away 0 is 4. So I have 41 and 14 hundredths. Is that what you got? 4114. 41 decimal point 14. It's a palindrome. It's the same, forward and backwards. Look at that. (41 and 14 hundredths). My students told me that a palindrome, we were giving examples, and my favorite one that they said was taco cat. I have a great group of students this year. They're pretty funny. They keep me laughing. All right, taco cat. Here we go. 5 decimal point 98. Take away 0 decimal point 7. Let's line up our numbers. 5 decimal point 98. Take away, I'm going to put my decimal point, 0 in my ones column, 7 in my tenths column, but I'm missing a spot. What am I going to put there? A 0. Let's add, let's subtract them. I said add, but you have to look at the symbol, it's subtraction. If I have 8, we start with the top, so 8. Take away 0 is 8. 9 take away 7 is 2. Then on my decimal point, 5 take away 0 is 5. 5 decimal point 28 is what I got. Let's see if we're correct. 5 and 98 hundredths. Take away 70 hundredths is 5 and 28 hundredths. We got it right. Okay, let's do this last one together. Then I want to try a word problem with you. Okay, now this one I can already tell it's tricky because look at all those zeros. But if we do it together and we take our time, we can do it. Let's line up our numbers. So let's start with 400. I'm going to write the number 400. Great. If I have the number 400, where is my decimal point going to be? Remember that the decimal point shows all the numbers less than 1. So I have 400. There's no numbers less than 1. So I know my decimal point is going to be at the end. Now I need to line up my decimal point with my next number, which is 285 and 8/10. Now I have a spot here without a number. I'm going to put in a 0. My symbol says to subtract, so I'm going to subtract. There we go. 400. Take away 285 and 8/10. Our decimals are lined up, and we're ready to subtract. We start in the column with the least value, which is our tenths column here. If I have 0, can I take away 8? No. Now, I've seen it done several ways. So I'm going to show you the 2 ways you can do this. In the past, I've always been taught that you go to the next column, then you go to the next column, then you go to the next column. So you see, like, the 4 becomes a 3, and you move the 1 over, and it becomes 10. Does that help us? No. So I take 1 from the 10, it becomes a 9, move it over. Did that help us? No. The 10 becomes another 9, and you move it over. Did that help us? Yes. So in the past, I've seen 3, and then a 9, and then a 9, and then a 10. Other students along the way have shown me, and this book has shown me, that if you take 400, decimal point 0, and you subtract 285 and 8/10, what you can do is just make the 400 one less, which is 399, and then move the 1 over. Whatever feels most comfortable to you. You can take 1 away from 400, make it 399 and move the 1 over. Or you can go step by step. Go all the way over, make the 4 a 3 and your tens column a 10, and then make the 10 a 9 and move the 1 over, and then make the 10 a 9. It's still 399 decimal point 10/10 there. However you feel most comfortable is fine with me. So 10 take away 8. If I have 10 and I take away 8, I have 2 left over. If I have 9 and I take away 5, I have 4. If I have 9 and I take away 8, I have 1. And if I have 3 and I take away 2, I have 1. So 400 take away 285 and 8/10 is 114 and 2/10. See the book? They do 400 and make it 399. Some people don't know that. It's hard to take 1 away or from a big number like that. It's fine. Whatever you feel most comfortable with. We have 114 and 2/10. 114 and 2/10. Great. I think we're ready for our word problem. So turn to page 47. Our monsters are back. Cute little monsters. The monsters are having a race. The course has 2 sections. Here is the distance run by each monster at each section. So our monsters are named Harry, Big Tooth. He actually has 2 teeth. We will overlook that. Charlie and Omega. Omega actually just has the 1 tooth. Alright. To each his own. So section 1, Harry ran 74 and 5/10 of a meter. Big Tooth ran 56 and 78 hundredths of a meter. Charlie ran 112 meters. And Omega ran 136 and 9/10 of a meter. That's for section 1. For section 2, Harry ran 91 and 32 hundredths of a meter. Big Tooth ran 48 and 9/10 of a meter. Charlie ran 98 and 98 hundredths of a meter. Omega ran 63 and 1/10 of a meter. Omega got a lot slower there. Now, A says calculate the total distance run by each monster. Write the results in the table. So we're going to calculate here, then we're going to write our results in the table. This is a table here. For Harry, we have to look this way. So We're adding up because we need the total for Harry. So section 1 and section 2 for Harry. 74 and 5/10 of a meter plus 91 and 32/10 of a meter. If we're going to add those up, you have to remember to fill in the hundredths position with a 0. So that's how you add up Harry. For Big Tooth, we have 56 and 78 hundredths plus 48 and 9/10. Don't forget the 0. I'm helping you line up your numbers. Charlie, ooh, this one's a good one because he doesn't have any decimal points for the first one. So he has 112 meters. Now we need to line up our decimal points. So you need to know where the decimal point goes. Goes there. So we have 98 and 98. So I need 2 zeros to fill in the spots. Then we have omega. 136 9/10 plus 63 and 1/10 of a meter. Now you need to add. Zero plus 2 is 2. 5 plus 3 is 8. Bring down your decimal point. 4 plus 1 is 5. 9 plus 7. So you can hold on to the 9 and go 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Or you know that 9 is close to 10, so you take 1 away from the 7 and move it to the 9 to make 10. So the 7 becomes a 6. So you have 10 plus 6 is also 16. So you should have 165 and 82 hundredths. Let's look at Big Tooth. You have 8 plus 0 is 8. 7 plus 9, we just did, was 16. 16. Carry my 1. 1 plus 6 is 7. 7 plus 8. Well, I know 7 plus 7 is 14, plus 1 more would be 15. 8 plus 1 is 9, and 9 plus 6 is 15. You can do it different ways. You can hold on to the 8 and go 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, plus 1 more is 15. 5 plus 1 is 6, and 6 plus 4 is 10. So I have 105 and 68 hundredths. 105 and 68 hundredths. Great. Let's keep going. 0 plus 8 is 8. 0 plus 9 is 9. Bring down my decimal point. 8, 9, 10. 0 carry the 1. 9, 10, 11. 1 carry the 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. 210 and 98 hundredths. And the last one here. Bring down my decimal point. Make sure you have your decimal point. 9 plus 1 is 10. So 0, carry the 1. 6 plus 1 is 7. 7 plus 3 is 10. 0, carry the 1. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 0, carry the 1. Wow, exactly 200 meters. Great job! So we just put that in our chart. 165 and 82 meters, 105 and 68 meters, 610 and 98 meters, 200 meters. I think you're ready to answer the bottom of page 47. Now, for those of you who want just a little bit more of a challenge, I propose this question. This one's great. A snake grew 1.5 meters over its lifetime. The snake was shorter than 1 meter when it was born. What could its birth length and its final length have been? Dun dun dun! Dun 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 dun! A lot of words, but let's think about it. So, I go back. What do I know? A snake grew 1.5 meters over its lifetime. So if I had a little snake, it started off, but at birth it was a certain length, and then over its lifetime it grew 1.5 meters. And they want to know, what could its length be when it was born? But I know that it was shorter than 1 meter. Shorter than 1 meter. I don't know what it was, but I know that it was shorter than 1 meter. So let's start with that information. What numbers, let's just focus with the 10th position, okay? What number in the 10th position shorter than 1 meter? 10th position. So I can have 0.1 is less than 1 meter. I can have 0.2 tenths, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6 meters, 0.7 meters, 0.8 meters. What else can I have? 0.9. So a snake, if it was born shorter than a meter, could have been 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, or 0.9 meters. After 0.9 becomes 1 meter. So these are the lengths that it could be born at. So if it was born at 1/10 of a meter, what was its final length? What was its final length? What do we have to do to all these numbers to find its final length? Well, how much did it grow? Throughout its life, it was growing, right? It grew by 1.5 meters. So over its lifetime, it's growing by 1.5 plus 1.5 plus 1.5 plus 1.5. Guess what? I'm just going to keep adding 1.5. I know that all of my answers are going to be higher than 1.5. So, what could its birth length, we figured that out, and its final length have been? What could its final length have been? Let's see how much we can do in our head. So, decimal point 1 plus 1.15 equals, what is, well, we can line it up for those who need to see it. So 0.1 plus 1 decimal point 5. 1 plus 5 is 6. Bring down the decimal point, 1. So it equals 1 and 6/10. Let's look at the next one. We're going to get a pattern going. 0 decimal point 2 plus 1 and 5/10. 2 plus 5 is 7. Bring down the decimal point. 0 plus 1 equals 1.7. These are all meters. What do you notice? Each time I'm adding 1/10, so our answer is going to add 1/10 each time. So we have 1 and 6/10, 1 and 7/10, 1 8/10, 1 9/10. Now what happens? What happens when we have to add 5/10 to 1 and 5/10? If I have 1 5/10 plus 5/10, line up my decimal points. 5 plus 5 is 10. 0, carry the 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. So 2 meters. And then we continue, adding 1/10. 2 decimal point 1. 2 decimal point 2. Do you see the pattern? 2 decimal point 3 and 2 decimal point 4 meters. So the question was, what could its birth, meaning the snake's length, we figured out, and its final length. So if a snake was born at 1/10 of a meter over its lifetime, it would be 1 and 6/10 of a meter. If a snake was born at 6/10 of a meter, it grew 1.5 of a meter. So its lifetime, it would have grown to be 2 and 1/10 of a meter long. That's pretty cool. Good job. I like when I find patterns in math. It's a lot of fun. Stay curious, and I'll see you next time. Bye.